Welcome to the January 25th, 2024 meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. Hayden, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Levine. Chair Tudor.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have 2 members present. We have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you, Hayden. Pursuant to Commission Policy 1.100, Commissioner Levine has notified Chair Richards and Executive Director Stovall of his absence. Hayden, please note his absence as excused for the record. On today's agenda, we have a few policy updates presented by General Counsel Ashley Thomas. We have a new policy on first reading, LEA Policy 6207, discussing out-of-district enrollment. We will end the day with a discussion and vote on 3 policies on first and final reading: Commission Policy 3.600, Commission Policy 3.700, and LEA Policy 1200. Do any commissioners have questions or comments before we vote to approve the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. The minutes of the committee meeting held on September 21st, 2023 have been provided. Does anyone have any edits to make regarding the prior minutes before we proceed? Excuse me. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the September 21st, 2023 meeting?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. The first item on our agenda today will be a discussion and vote on a new LEA Policy 6207 for first reading. I would like to recognize our General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, to describe the proposed policy.
Thank you, Chairman. The 2023 legislative session included a change that permitted public charter schools to enroll out-of-district students if the authorizer had such a policy. Based on feedback from our operators, the Commission staff began research and discussions on how to develop and implement such a policy. I have proposed this on a first draft. This would be the Commission's out-of-district enrollment policy. So what I want to do now is walk through the policy, and then afterwards I would like to ask our Director of Finance and Operations, Melanie Harrell, to sort of give additional context. So the policy draft states that if a school enrolls out-of-district students, that school is responsible for ensuring that all associated per pupil costs are paid to the resident district. This policy places the responsibility on the charter school to collect those costs from the parent or guardian of that student. The policy will require the charter school to notify the Commission of its intent to enroll out-of-district students by April 1st for this upcoming school year, and then by October 1st on every school year beginning with 25-26. The policy does include a requirement for the charter school to enter into a separate MOU with the Commission, and that MOU will detail the items that are listed in that policy that include lottery and enrollment procedure that the school will use, the steps that will be used to verify the address of that student, how the records will be maintained, and the process for any tuition collection if necessary. I've also included language that will authorize the Commission to withhold money from the charter school if they fail to remit payment to the resident district in an appropriate amount or within an appropriate amount of time. That action will include an administrative fee that will be detailed in the MOU. Any participating school that fails to adhere to the policy and MOU will have that reflected in their school performance framework. You'll notice on that policy I included a cross-reference to out-of-district procedures, and we will really go into the minutia of implementing this policy and those procedures. Because this is up on first reading, I think it's important for the Commission to know that we intend to engage with our other LEA partners and other stakeholders between first and final to discuss any edits or get any feedback on what we have drafted. Now, Chair Tudor, if you'll allow me, I'll turn it over to Melanie Harrell for additional context.
Certainly. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Chair Tudor and Ashley. I think just to reiterate what Ashley said, the background of this has been really a long time coming. There was some ambiguity in out-of-district enrollment references that was cleaned up in statute during the last General Assembly. And for us, the key clarification was that it is the authorizer's out-of-district policy that drives the out-of-district enrollment decisions. And pretty quickly, we heard from several of our operators that they were interested in implementing this, and they wanted clarification. So over about the last 6 months or so, we've had several conversations, both with the State Board of Education, with the Department of Education, wanting to really get a sense of, do we think there may be statewide guidance around this coming out? Could there be any rulemaking? Wanting to really ensure that we would be aligned with anything that may be coming down the pipeline. What we learned from that was very helpful context is that the underlying statutes, the underlying underpinnings of out-of-district enrollment is nothing new in Tennessee. Any district across the state can enroll students out of district pursuant to agreements that they may have amongst themselves. They may have in different contexts for different reasons. And that is something that there are districts across the state that they do that, and they have been doing that for many years. And so for that reason, with it not being anything sort of new for a state, we're not anticipating that there will be any sort of subsequent guidance or rulemaking statewide around this. And so we feel comfortable moving forward in the same way that any other district would, with our own policy, our own procedures, and making sure that we have a very clear vision of how this we want this to play out. I think, unsurprising for me, my immediate questions were around funding. So I think when we look at the statute says that a resident district, whether it be for a charter school or admitting a out-of-district student that is not at a charter school, may charge tuition. I think what is important for everybody to remember, and as far as our context, is that charter funding rule dictates that 100% of the funds follow the student based on the school that they attend. So there is no mechanism statewide for anybody to look at. There's 450 students at Commission School A. 50 students or 50 of those students are out of district, therefore will withhold the local contribution portion of that funding and reallocate it. It is only passed through based on the number of students in that school and that funding. So when we think about the tuition amount is really intended to make sure that it is making the resident district whole in accordance with any local funding that is representative of that student. And so what this means is that amount that makes the district whole is sort of the maximum tuition amount. We wanted to make sure that it is the clear understanding of any schools that opt into this, that they will be responsible for ensuring that our resident district partners are made whole should they choose to pursue this. And so we want to make sure that this is something that everybody understands, that we know the underpinnings of, but also that philosophically there is a path forward to implementation for our schools that are very interested, the way that they could in other contexts as well. So as Ashley mentioned, we want to make sure that we're being good partners with our stakeholders, with our partners in other districts. So we will be continuing engagement with those partners between first and final, and would anticipate likely some adjustments to come at second read. But with that, happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Ashley. Commissioners, are there any additional comments before we recommend adoption of LEA Policy 6207? Oh, okay, jump in.
I just have one. If we could look at the second paragraph under purpose, I think it's important that we indicate in the policy that the geographic LEA shall remit to a given location. I think we were talking about the resident LEA. That would just clarify that. I know y'all are going to do in-depth procedures, but I think it ought to be clear in the policy where the money's going. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
One question, is this similar to a policy that like Shelby County Schools has, MNPS, and has it been put into effect with many schools? Do you know?
As far as it being put into effect, I would refer to TESS, but yes, it is similar to the policies that are in place at those districts.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I mean, currently how it works between two districts is the receiving district gets to decide whether or not they're going to charge a parent tuition. There is a maximum amount outlined in statute that it can't be any more than the total per pupil amount. Some districts they don't charge tuition because it's so nominal. Other districts do. And so this is very much aligned to how it currently works. I think the challenge for us is that depending on the location of the school and the receiving district, it could be a very wide range of what a quote unquote tuition maximum could be. And that's really dependent on that local contribution piece that varies very greatly between school districts.
Thank you.
Is there a motion that we recommend adoption of LEA Policy 6207 on first reading to the full commission?
So moved.
A second. All those in favor say aye, opposed say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. The final item on our agenda today will be a discussion and vote on proposed changes to Commission Policy 3.600, Commission Policy 3.700, and LEA Policy, 1200 on first and final reading. I would like to recognize our General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, to describe the proposed changes.
Thank you, Chair Tudor. As you stated, we do have 3 policies for the committee's consideration. The proposed changes in these policies were initiated as part of feedback to the commission work throughout the year. The change proposed to Commission Policy 3.600 is to extend the deadline for staff to conduct a public hearing related to a renewal application from November 1st to November 30th, and we just find that we probably need that flexibility to be able to schedule the public hearing. Commission Policy 3.700 is our school performance framework. We're proposing a change here to align our framework to changes that occurred in the state accountability protocols, which now issue letter grades to schools in year 1. This change is allowed without amendment within our charter agreements. We have terms in that agreement that allow for us to make this change without having to amend every charter agreement. The staff does intend to communicate this particular change in a variety of ways to our operators, most notably through the pre-opening process for the schools new to the commission's portfolio. And then finally, I'm proposing additional language to LEA Policy 1200, which deals with grievances and complaints. This change will require the operators to detail the procedure for submitting complaints in a more specific manner. The language would require that each school detail a point of contact for submitting that grievance or complaint, the ways in which that complaint is to be submitted, whether that be in person, written letter, via email, and then the timeline that the individual can expect the complaint to follow. At a minimum, these guidelines would provide a benefit to any student or parent when processing a grievance or complaint for the school. And unless there are questions or concerns about those changes, I will turn this over to the chair for discussion and vote.
Thank you, Ashley. Commissioners, are there any additional comments? Is there a motion to recommend adoption of changes to Commission Policy 3.600, Commission Policy 3.700, and LEA Policy 1200 on first and final reading to the full commission?
So moved.
A second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Thank you all for your attendance and participation at this meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. At this time, I would like to ask if there are any final comments. If there are no further comments, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
A second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The next meeting of the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee is scheduled for March 21st, 2024. We are adjourned.